Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for the 2 episode premiere of Daredevil Born Again. This is the new series slash continuation of the Daredevil Netflix series, bringing back a lot of the stuff. We don't know what is all canon, but for the most part, it looks like the majority of the series is just based on the events of the first 2 episodes. Both episodes are about an hour, 50 minutes to an hour long. Once you remove credits and all that, man, they are both pretty intense. I would say the first episode there are two really big scenes. The opening scene is or the opening sequence really. It just really gives you everything and sets up. I feel like what the thesis is going to be for this series. They're not going to hold anything back when it comes to the violence, the stakes, the drama. Like they're just really going all for it. But this is definitely a way to kind of refresh the mythos of this Daredevil character that's been around for so long. But as much as this show is about Matt Murdock, the Daredevil, this is also a show about Wilson Fisk. And I think that it is a very, very smart endeavor to give us two stories of two compelling characters, two characters that we've been following for a long time, especially for those that are big fans of the Netflix series, those that watch She-Hulk, those that watch Echo, Hawkeye. Like, there's a lot there, right? And I am very excited to see where we're gonna go from here. These first 2 episodes were very intense, and they set up some really nice groundwork, I think, for the future of the series. This is definitely it's a different approach to what Netflix was doing, but I like what's going on. I feel like the pace is a little bit slower when it comes to the progression of everything that they're really taking the time to explore all the avenues in this Daredevil. He's currently out of Hell's Kitchen after some events have happened. We'll talk about that in a minute. But overall, very enthused about this. I think it's a great 2 episode premiere because it really sets up the idea that maybe Matt Murdock does not want to be the Daredevil anymore, but he's kind of called back upon the duty. He still has that. He still has that responsibility on his plate, and it's something that's going to be on something that's going to be on his shoulders for a minute. And like I mentioned, we are still going through Wilson Fisk's arc, who seems to be a changed man on the surface, but then once you dig deeper in those layers, we know that there's only one Wilson Fisk, there's only one Kingpin, and that's kind of who we are meeting in this series. Very exciting stuff, great performances, I think, especially Vincent D'Onofrio, just bringing such gravitas to the character once again. It's really, really cool. And then Charlie Cox reprising his role as Daredevil, as he had never taken off the suit, just sliding right back in. Even though it's been quite a long time. I know he's played the character a little bit in a few projects there, but it's been a long time since he's really fully been and lived in with the devil. Very exciting stuff. Some things that maybe people will not enjoy. I think there's some changes that probably had to be made for the series, but it does feel like a nice way to ease the audience into this new setting, this new surrounding. So let's get into some of the actual spoilery details. So if you haven't seen the show, that was kind of my spoiler-free review in the last few minutes. We're gonna go over all the events of these first 2 episodes, or at least the things that I feel are important, and we'll talk more about all that. So we begin with the gang leaving the office, heading to Josie's bar. Josie's is the bar where lawyers and cops and just kind of people gather around. And there is an incident there. We knew that something was going to happen in this first episode. Um, After receiving a call from an informant or somebody that Foggy's working with, he is shot by Bullseye. We knew that we knew that Bullseye was coming. Bullseye is reprised from the same actor from the original show, which is very interesting to see. We have this opening, kind of like one track shot for the fight. I feel like this is their just the nod of the hat to maybe the hallway scene. I don't think it's as intricate, but it does feel like one shot. I mean, there's a few points where I feel like they could have taken breaks, But all this is going on while we hear Foggy's heartbeat, right? So the show puts us immediately in Matt's head with Foggy's heartbeat is slowing down because he has been shot. He's losing blood. He's laying down on the street. Karen is trying to take care of him. But in the meanwhile, Bullseye is just going into the bar, killing people, and Matt, as Daredevil, has to stop him. Uh, Very vicious fight. Ends up in a very just uh, really horrible place. Matt ends up throwing Bullseye off the building after he hears Foggy's heart stop beating, and that is the incident that leads Matt Murdock to not want to continue to be Daredevil. Um, we catch up a year later where there's a lot happening. Vanessa's running a meeting and Fisk shows up. Fisk will be running for mayor while he's been recovering from all the events of everything that happened to him. Because if you remember, he was shot in the face. Then the events of the Echo series happened. Uh, he has been recovering. Vanessa's been running the empire, running very efficiently too. And if you remember from the Netflix series, Fisk never wanted her involved in all that business. So we also catch up on the trial for Bullseye. We realize that as Matt's giving his testimony, Karen comes back. We learn that she's moved to San Francisco. Now, San Francisco is very important for the just. It's a very important location for the comics. The Matt Fraction run actually takes Daredevil out of New York to San Francisco. Uh, and after this announcement, after kind of Matt has kind of lost everything, but he's remade a new life. We'll talk about that in a minute. Um, he meets with Fisk after he's made this announcement, and this is the other scene that I really thought was very good. Really enjoyed, just as a comic book fan, as a fan of this show, and just as a fan of both of these performers. Fisk and Matt meeting in the diner, and pretty much warning each other that they're gonna talk. Like they're keeping an eye on each other. Don't like Matt's not being Daredevil anymore, but Fisk knows who he is. And then Fisk is running for mayor, and Matt's going to keep an eye on him as well. We do see that Fisk has won the election, and after all the celebratory congratulations, whatever the case, he talks to Vanessa on top of a roof, where he brings up that he knows about Adam. Now, I feel like Adam maybe Vanessa cheated on him while he was recovering with somebody because Vanessa asked him not to kill this individual. We don't know. We do know that Matt does have a new girlfriend. His new partner at his new firm kind of set him up on a blind date without really advising any of them that this was a date. We do get somebody painting in the background, and we know that Muse is going to be part of this series. Somebody doing graffiti in the city after Fisk won the election. So I think they're planting those seeds of Muse being already active in the city. We hear that there's mentions of people disappearing and stuff like that. And then the episode ends as the city celebrates and also kind of fights on that Fisk has won the election. They're very split. It wasn't a very decisive victory, but it's a runoff election for the mayor of New York. So like it can still go either way. But as Matt walks back and he kind of looks up, he's covered in this red light, whereas Fisk is in the top of this building, looking down on the people, covered in this like blue white light. So like while now Fisk operates within the light, Matt as Daredevil has gone into the darkness. So I don't know. I really like that shot. I really love the. It's a really cool way to close out your first episode. Um, we move on to the next episode. Uh, this is called Optics. New Year. We get a New Year's speech from Fisk, in which he gives us a little bit of a call out to two of our favorite vigilantes in New York, the Punisher and Spider-Man. He doesn't mention them by name, but he's like, we don't need a guy running around shooting people with a skull, and we don't need a guy swinging from the buildings or whatever. So we definitely know who he meant. I feel like he should also called out Hawkeye maybe, but he didn't. In the meanwhile, we see a man. There's a subway incident. This guy's trying to help somebody who's kind of getting jumped in the subway. It turns out that those were cops that they were harassing somebody. One of them accidentally gets killed and by the subway. And I knew, I put in my notes, oh, this is going to be a client of Matt's, and that's what ends up happening. We'll talk about that in a second. We also get a lot of intercuts in both episodes of the BB report, which is done by Ben Urich's niece. Her name is Bibi, and it's kind of like this. Feels like this kind of like YouTube channel project thing, or like it's kind of like news, but it's new media, right? And of course, we know Ben Urich's. He was a reporter in the old Netflix series, but the character has passed at the end of the series, and I believe in the third season. I have to go back and check. Um, I think something really funny as Mayor Fisk is driving through the city, he has this idea in his head already from his chief of staff that it's all about the optics. So as he's kind of stuck in traffic, he realizes that there's a hole that the city, bureaucracy, the hole's not being filled in, it's causing traffic. So he kind of tells the crew to fill it in and disregard the permits or whatever. So he's doing these things to appeal to the people of the city. Also, one of his staff members is uh, Tony Soprano's kid, James Gandolfini. I forget the name of the actor, but it is James Gandolfini's son, which his character is very interesting. I feel like Fisk sees him as a bit of a to kind of a paternal role to him. Maybe he reminds him of a young, like a young version of himself. And I think that's very smart because we know that Fisk wasn't always the killer that he is right now, right? He's not the guy that's always in control that he is right now. So after meeting with Hector's wife, we find out that he is the White Tiger, the vigilante that had been brought up a few times in the first episode as well. Uh, Also, Fisk meets with the commissioner of the police, who is threatening to leave. And this would leave Fisk kind of like in a lurch, and if he doesn't have the support of the police, it's going to be really hard to do his job as the mayor. But he's up to his old tricks. We close out the episode with two different things. We'll start with Fisk first. So Matt's girlfriend is a I guess psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor, uh, who ends up being the couple's counselor for Fisk and his wife. So we know they're going through some hardship there. So that's going to be very interesting, just the way that is connected. I I feel like Fisk knows that that's who she is, and maybe that's why he picked her to kind of be close to her without Matt knowing. So that's interesting in one spot. How much are they willing to open up to this person? In the meanwhile, we know that Matt finds the witness from the platform. This whole case of Hector being innocent relies on that, and we really don't see Daredevil after the initial sequence, right? He really has left. He really has stopped being Daredevil, but Matt is kind of pushed to the brink as he helps this witness escape from the police. The cops start beating him up, and he has to let the devil out. Man, those dudes. He broke one dude's arm. He smashed the other ones against the fridge a bunch of times. So Matt Murdock is not. He's not done. He's done taking beatings. So, yeah, and of course he's frustrated after that happens. He's frustrated because he had made a very specific choice to stop being Daredevil. So we don't know. We don't. I don't know what's gonna happen next. Unfortunately, we don't get like a next week on Daredevil or whatever. There's no after credit scene. There's nothing after the credits as far as I could see. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out. After this initial 2 episode premiere, we'll get one episode at a time every week. I believe there's 9 episodes in this season, so we'll keep talking about them. But I enjoy the show. It's really good to have Daredevil back on the TV. I'm a little sad that we won't get to see Foggy. We won't get to see Karen much because she's moved away. I feel like she'll come back for sure. And there's still a lot of surprises, right? We still don't know. Like Muse hasn't shown up. We still haven't seen the Punisher, who's also been announced to be in this season. And I'm just wondering what other little kind of tricks or Easter eggs they're going to hide in the series. So stay tuned. We'll talk more about the series. But if you have seen the premiere of Daredevil Born Again, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And stay tuned because we have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone.